money will be left on the table if you're good at something. And the better you get at something, the more money will be left on the table. You can escape the day-to-day chaos, but you've got to go into the discomfort. You've got to go and force yourself. When you are feeling like you are too busy, you need to make time to unravel it. It's a recipe for burnout. I am saying this as somebody who's done this. We become a victim of our own success, and we are unwilling to shed the label of the underdog. Welcome to another episode of the Mortgage Business Mastery Podcast with me, Ash Borland. Welcome back to today's episode. In this episode, we're talking all about how mortgage brokers can escape from the day-to-day chaos. This is actually one that's been something that's been on my mind for a while. I wanted to do an episode on it, just share my thoughts. You know, anyone who's listened to this show long enough knows this specific type of content is one of my favorite contents to make because I sit in here on a Saturday. This comes out on a Monday, and I just kind of talk, and it's one of the purest full-form versions of what I am like. And I just share my thoughts, my feelings, and my advice on things that are happening right now. And today I'm recording this in my recording studio, which is in my garden, and I can hear all my kids and my wife outside. My daughter is banging on the door, so I'm trying not to be distracted. Last week I had a cold. This week I've got kids running around crazy. So, well, you guys can't hear them. I just can. But yeah, today we're going to be talking, like I said, all about this idea of how to escape the day-to-day chaos as brokers. I see this a lot. I see this a lot with clients. I see this a lot with prospects. I see this a lot with people who message me. But it is something I've really noticed. And in fact, I was talking to my wife about this. Me and my wife talk about a lot of this stuff. And I was talking to her about this last night. And I was saying how there seems to be a lot of people who I speak to who are, what I'd say, they're in this firefighting cycle. So they're busy, but they're not necessarily optimized and as successful as they would like. So they're working hard, they're getting good results, but they are not working kind of smart, so to speak. They're very reactive. They're getting low premiums on their insurance. They're not really cross-selling anything. They may be waiving fees depending on the value of the case, but they are writing, say, 10 grand a month. This is quite a common thing. I'm seeing this quite a lot. And we're talking about this because I see, and say 10 grand a month as a one-man band advisor, that's a bloody good income. It's a good income to earn. Put that out there. It is. But these people, bless them, I see them and I see they're burning out. And then I speak to people. I'm lucky enough now, especially at that point in my career where I'm not just segregated to my little office as much as I'd like to be. I do go off. I do speaking events. I do go to some brand deals and go off to like corporate stuff. And this comes up a lot. And I have been, I would say, blessed enough to be able to help people get out of this, but it really requires a specific way of thinking. There is a strategy, the Mortgage Business Mastery System, the system I use, so the Mortgage Business Mastery System and the staff framework, which is the scaling framework. So one is the processes, the other one is scaling. Those two systems can do this. That they get you out of the day-to-day chaos of doing it, and they allow you to have great income and a great life. But, and it's very true, it's very, very true, is it only works if you're willing to make the change. And a lot of people, it's hard to be able to make that jump and to make that change. And I don't just mean with clients, I mean with anybody. Whenever I speak to people, I'm like, yeah, cool, you can do this, but you have to push through. So why do we get stuck in it? Let's first of all, so this is what I want to talk about. I want to talk about in today's episode, why brokers get stuck in this kind of like firefighting cycle. I also want to talk about how to shift from that reactive to a strategic business growth. And then I want to talk about practical kind of tips and tricks that you can use potentially to help you out in this process. Now, let's dive into the bit about why brokers get stuck in the firefighting cycle. I think personally, and this might be you guys, someone listen to this, and if it is, and you want to drop me a message on Instagram, just DM me saying, yeah, that was me. I'm more than happy to hear your story and talk to you about it. I'm not a counselor, obviously, but feel free to, I'm happy to chat to you. But it's one of these where I think what happens with this firefighting is, and I was speaking to somebody about this a couple of days ago, is when you first start out in business, I did it with this, I did it as a broker, and I'm sure you say you will have all gone through this, is there are these different phases. And the first phase is you go out and you've got nothing. And so you go out and you are the underdog, is what I would class it as. And so the only thing you have, you are usually time rich and cash poor. So you have no money, but you have all the time in the world. So what you're going to do is you're going to work really, really hard to try and get everything over the line, because every deal matters. And not just every deal matters, but every client matters, because you can't turn away the business. And this, by the way, is when I speak to people who are, when we talk about niching and they go, I can't turn away all the business. If you are a brand new mortgage advisor, in which I have been, like I said, blessed enough and lucky enough to be able to have more people come to me who are now starting from the beginning of the industry, because I've been actively pursuing those people and helping them just because I want to help them. If you are a new advisor, then truthfully, you don't really need to worry about niching. Niche will figure itself out. Because you are in this phase. You are in this, you need to work your arse off. You need to work really hard. And this episode is not for you potentially. It could be for you listening to it if you're thinking, okay, what to avoid in the future, but it's not for you you're not in this problem. So this is where this advice, that beginning, it's the first phase. You need to work with everything you've got to make whatever you can to put food on the table for you, for your family, for whatever your situation is. Now, that's great. It's admirable. It's great. The issue lies, and this is a big issue, is that the issue lies in that when you'll start to gain some traction. And now you become a bit more, you're more established. So you're an established advisor now. People are coming to you. If you go and check out the mortgage marketing blueprint, you can go to my ashborland.com/blueprint to get that, or go to ashborland.com/masterclass and you'll get all my masterclasses on there. If you go onto there, what you'll see is we talk about this a lot, which is the three types of leads: brand, referral, and demand. When you first start out, you've only got demand. You just got to work. But when you start to build out two of these, meaning you start to have people coming to you from a referral perspective, but you're also starting to build up quite a bit of demand because your name's out there more, so people are picking up. You're not an underdog anymore. You're not an underdog. And this is where we get stuck in this firefighting cycle. Is now what starts to happen is the behaviors and attitudes that got us here, we continue to do, because what got us here must get us to the next spot, because it's a path we've trodden. We know it works. And spoiler alert, it doesn't. It does not work. It doesn't work if you want to. It's a recipe for burnout. And I am saying this as somebody who's done this. It's not me going like preaching. I've done this. I have burned myself out on many occasions doing things that I'm like, that's unsustainable. Underdog mentality to now a business owner, to then you become what we would call key person influence, an authority, somebody, a thought leader. That's the next level. But if you want to make that transition from being just a general business owner, someone who's just around transactional business, to becoming an actual authority and people want to work with, you have to make that shift. And how you do this, well, I'll talk about how you shift in a minute, but that's why I think it happens. I think it happens, from my experiences, we become a victim of our own success and we are unwilling to shed the label of the underdog. But you're not anymore. And I did this myself, where I was like, I thrived off it. I was like, I'm the underdog. I'm the guy, I'm working hard. A great example would be Gary Das, who actually is a friend of mine. Me and Gary Das are friends. But for years, it was like, Gary's the guy, I'm working hard. Gary's the guy, I'm working hard. Until one day it was like, actually, he's my equal. I'm not worse than him at all. In fact, in some people's eyes, I'm better. In some people's eyes, I'm worse. But he's my equal. And to pretend that I am an underdog in my mind is lying. And the only way I'm going to be successful, and that's how me and him ended up partnering and doing stuff together and becoming friends. We are very different, but we support each other a lot behind the scenes, is it came from that. It came from that. We're very different people. We have very different outlooks on life, very different ways of approaching this business. But all of a sudden, that shift of constantly trying to firefight, for I think both of us, we decided to change. And when you make this change, you stop seeing everything as either a threat or a win, and I think this is the issue with this chaos. I don't want to lose the business. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You have to be willing to lose something. And there's a thing here that happens with this, which is this idea of we leave money on the table. Why we get stuck in it is we get stuck in this thing of there's money left on the table. Spoiler alert with this, again, money will be left on the table if you're good at something. And the better you get at something, the more money will be left on the table. That's just the fact of being good at something. You should disproportionately leave more money on the table than you take off the table. Not for any reason other than you just won't be able to do it. If you get really, 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 really good, you will not be able to physically take all the money off the table on your own. And what's really interesting with this specifically is then you can scale into those things. But what I watch is people then go, I'm going to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and I'm going to do a bit of this and a bit of this and a bit of this and a bit of this. And the next thing you know, you're a jack of all trades and a master of none. You're doing nothing. You're burning out. and you're not meeting deadlines, and you're stressed, and you're never with your kids, and that's the situation. And it happens so often, and it doesn't need to. So let's talk about how to shift from this kind of reactive, this underdog mentality to a more strategic business growth mindset. So the first thing you have to think about with this is, I would say, when it comes to shifting, is establish and understand, what is it you want? What do you want with your life in your business? What type of business do you want? Now, there are three types of businesses that I always talk about with this. There's three kind of main types, or three types of business owners. And so you can decide which one you are within this. Is you have the entrepreneur, the business owner, or the artist. So these are three types of business owners. The entrepreneur, which, by the way, spoiler alert, okay, I keep saying spoiler alert because it's, but you know, I hate to break it to most of you, none of you, or not none of you, but the vast majority of you are not entrepreneurs, including me, by the way. I'm not. I won't call ourselves it because it sounds nice, but we're not entrepreneurs in this concept. Because an entrepreneur, a true entrepreneur, comes in, builds something, and exits, or moves to something new. But they build it and move. They build it and move. And it's that they are high risk takers, extremely high risk takers, which by the nature of it, if you are stuck, feeling overworked, you are not an entrepreneur, because you would have figured that problem out significantly faster. But you have to decide. So an entrepreneur is someone that they will start multiple, they're serial entrepreneurs. They will start something, they will grow it, high risk, high reward, usually with an exit in mind, pretty much from the beginning. I work with one guy who is an entrepreneur, a true, pure entrepreneur. And it is obvious. Like, he might be listening to this podcast. If he listens, he'll know he is different to anybody else I've met entrepreneurs, but like who I work with. His mindset is different. I have to keep up with him because he's constantly, everything is built around how he can scale it and sell it. But he truly works towards that. The next person you have is the business owner. And the business owner is somebody who wants to create a business that has staff, that has revenue coming in, and that is volume. It's a volume business. An entrepreneur business, like I said, is a saleable asset. But a business it could be saleable if you wanted to, but that might be by accident byproduct. So you might have built something and then go, actually, do you know what? I might want to sell this and leave. That's fine. But a business owner is somebody who predominantly you're building it because you're trying to create something that has staff. Maybe you probably want a premises. You're building a business. And as I said, sales and stuff like that might come at the end as in regards to sale of the business, but it's not what you got into it for. But you want to have other brokers with you. You want to have an admin team. That's a business owner. And by the way, how an entrepreneur makes their money is they exit. How a business owner makes their money is they make their money through building value in the business and building other people. They're a volume business. So it's bringing stuff in and trying to make money on the volume of work that comes through it. So it's more and more and more. And so at that point, then we hire people in, or we hire people in and we do different things, and we do different deals in order to take a percentage, some sort of profit margin off of those things. That's another great one of doing. So if that's what you want to be. But then the third one you have, and none of them are good nor bad. Third one is what I am. And quite a few of my clients are this. And this is what we call the artist. And the artist effectively would now be referred to sometimes as the personal brand business. And the artist kind of concept is it's just you. You might have some support staff. So you might have, if you go and check out my staff framework masterclass, you might have a paraplanner and a customer service manager working alongside you. You might have a marketing manager working with you. So you might have a team maximum of maybe 4. But the reality is, you are the valuable asset. You are the business. It is you're the face of it. You're the artist. Now, why do we call it the artist? Is because an artist is limited by themselves. But unlike the other two, because they are limited, the more in demand they get, the more valuable they become, the more a premium they charge, which are these key influencers. So an artist way of making more revenue is to become more and more in demand and to change the business model, constantly increasing the value of their time and their service as they become more and more in demand, which is my business model, which is why I don't get paid the same as I did 5-6 years ago when I first started, because as time goes on, and I will not be getting paid the same this year as I did next year and the year after that, it constantly goes up. And that's because I'm in demand, exactly the same as how you can be as a broker. And I have quite a lot of my clients have this artist model. And some of them, for example, one of my clients is about $650,000 a year as an artist model with a paraplanner. Very Doable. It depends on the geographic location and also the work effort and stuff like that you put in. But yeah, doable. So what I'm saying this with you guys is you need to decide, first of all, to shift from a reactive to a strategic business growth mindset. What avenue, what kind of route are you taking? Because most people I speak to are a bit of everything, but they don't, in other words, means they're nothing. I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm going to grow a business, but I want to take control of everything. I'm going to micromanage everything. Well, that doesn't work. So you need to decide which one of these you are. And then, by the way, if I know, for example, like I said, I work with people who are all three. And then if I know which one they are, and normally I can figure out and ask them, but if I know which one they are, I know which route we're taking them. Now, the systems, the staff system and the mortgage business mastery system, they are both exactly the same for whoever they are, but they might be slightly different and tailored in how they're delivered and how it looks on your business model. So you need to know which one of those you are. Once you know that, then you can start looking at all of the things, and I would absolutely audit what are you doing and what are the things you think is a waste of time. Where are you actually, what I would call like the leaky bucket? So it's like, where are you pouring stuff in and you are just losing money? Because I have people who speak to me, I'll do discovery calls with people and they're like, oh yeah, you know, I'm doing X amount. Let's say I'm doing 10 grand. And I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. And this is no one specific, by the way. I'm just picking out a number, but I'm doing 10 grand just because people who listen to this show and they're like, that's me. I'm like, well, it could be all of you because you all have similar problems. But like, let's say you're doing 10 grand a month, you're doing 10 mortgages a month, £1,000 each, small procs, relatively average size fee. And I'm like, okay, cool, but you're not doing any insurance. I am, but I'm doing like a DTA policy, £15 a month, £10 a month, £12 a month, whatever, you know, £100. You are hemorrhaging money at that point. Because if you're doing 10 grand a month, you are sitting on probably a 30 grand a month business if you learn how to do that. Now, what's interesting is some of those people might be like, I can't do 10 mortgages a month. Like, I struggle with that time. Great. If you struggle with the time of 10 mortgages a month, then why don't we drop that down to like 6, but get those premiums up to like 100 to 200, because that's the average really of what it should be. People should be about 100 to 200 relatively. And so, okay, let's get it up to that. Now you're making, 6 mortgages on that much. I wouldn't even know what that would be. Let me do a random number. Obviously, all your network's going to be different. But let's say you got 6 mortgages. Let's say you do 150 premium times 6 times, that's going to be £900 a month premium, sometimes 22. So that would be literally £19,800 roughly. Okay, that's going to give or take a couple of grand either way, depending on your networks and your splits. But that's going to give you 20 grand a month if you did 6 mortgages at 150 average. No, you might go, Ash, that's crazy, 150. No, it's not. It's not. And that's how you start to escape the day-to-day chaos, which is the whole idea of this episode, is actually learning how to do the job right, the system right, is how you step away. If your business looks like remember in your iPhone headphones years ago when they used to have the wires and you'd pull them out and they'd just be a mess, like a spaghetti jungle mess. If your business feels like that to you, how the hell do you think you're going to scale it? How the hell do you think you're going to take a step back out of it? You have to start to unravel it. You have to unravel the mess and you have to start putting in place the foundational things that you missed. And by the way, it's okay that you missed them. If you didn't know, if you're in that initial phase, that fight or flight, you have to feed your family phase, we all do stupid things then because we have to. But you're not there anymore. You're not there anymore. And so you have to be willing, and this is the bit that's painful, you have to be willing to go in and unravel all of this stuff that your brain has told you, this is what made us successful. And then what happens is when someone like me comes in, you go, no, this guy's telling me what to do. He doesn't know. He doesn't know. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I know. There is nobody I have worked with there is nobody I've worked with where I've looked and gone, I couldn't help you. No one. Because the systems are the same. And once I started seeing people do this stuff and absolutely implement it did it for me. My life is completely different because I do the exact same stuff I teach you guys. And it's exactly the same thing here. You can escape the day-to-day chaos, but you've got to go into the discomfort. You've got to go and force yourself. When you are feeling like you are too busy, you need to make time to unravel it. And that might mean, in the short term, losing business. That's what it means. By the way, that's not just working with me. You do this with anybody. You don't have to work with me. You do it yourself. But if you're like, I need to fix this problem, this CRM system, for example, is a great system. If you feel like that, you've got to go in, you've got to get rid of it, you've got to learn it. So go in, get rid of all the old stuff and learn the system. If you don't do that, Like, for example, I use Go High Level. I love Go High Level. But when I got Go High Level, honestly, I bought it and then sat on it for like a year and a half because I was too worried about getting in and nervous and, I don't want to wreck everything I've already got. That cost me money. That cost me money. Same thing with YouTube, same thing with everything. So if you are hiding away from that, you need to know, first of all, what do I want? Am I trying to be that, that business owner? Am I trying to be the artist approach? Am I trying to be an entrepreneur? Most of you are not entrepreneurs. So, just put that one out there. So probably take that one out of the equation. Are you trying to be a business owner? Are you trying to be an artist? All of them can be helped. They all have the same methods of changing it. It just might be slightly different depending on what you're doing. For example, the system, if you're an individual, if you're a one-man band and you're an artist approach, well, then all that happens is the system processes you do really well, and then you get your power planners to be able to, and your power planner and your customer service to take on the back end stuff, the gatekeeping and the back end stuff if you need them, because that's not valuable time for you. You could be using it for other things because your time is more valuable the better you get. If you want a business, well, guess what? You just bring people in and train them the middle bit too. You train them in that middle bit and then you manage them. It's not that hard. Just obviously, as you bring more people in, it will dilute the potency, which is why that artist approach is always going to be better in regards to income to the individual, always on a short-term basis. But again, everyone's different. So it's knowing which one you want, but you've got to be able to shift your brain from going into the uncomfortable thing. So all I would say from this episode is if you feel like you're stuck in the day-to-day chaos, start getting yourself out. It's not as hard as you think. Just start to slowly do the things you know you shouldn't be doing or you should be doing, and stop doing the things you know you shouldn't. And if you're worried about leaving money on the table, you need to get really comfortable that is going to happen, because you're never going to get away from it. It really is that simple. And if you want to learn more about the staff framework I talk about, you can go to my ashbourne.com/masterclass, or you can go to ashbourne.com/masterclass2. I think it'll take you directly to it. And that will have it there. And that is my framework on what we use to scale with staffing. It's staffing and stuff like that, and all the things you should put in place. And it's kind of like how to scale your business, because the mastery system is all about how to do the right thing within the business. The other one is how to scale it. So once that's right, you can grow it. But you can go and check out that staff framework there. That will help you maybe identify areas that you are maybe doing things wrong, in your opinion wrong. Obviously, any business to do what you want, but that's something you should be looking at. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe wherever you're watching and or listening. If you're on YouTube, give us a subscribe. If you're listening to us on any of the podcast platforms, then give us a subscribe there. And if you have a question that you'd like me to answer, you can leave them in the comments right now on YouTube. Or if you want to head over to @AshBorland on Instagram, you can drop me a DM there, and I'm always happy to answer and help. And I'll see you in the next one.